Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Liam's Library. I'm at work today. I'm working in my bookshop, and I've been on the internet surfing all morning because it's been a bit of a quiet morning. Something's got my attention, and what's got my attention is Stephen King's novel from 2002, From a Buick 8. Alright, sorry, I've got my phone backwards here because I'm sort of crammed into the office. But yeah, From a Buick 8 by Stephen King, right? 2002, I was spot on. Is all over the internet at the moment. I'm signed up to a Facebook page called Stephen King's Constant Readers. And all I'm seeing is posts that From a Buick 8 is being made into a film starring Thomas Jane. Now, you remember Thomas Jane is David Drayton from Stephen King's The Mist, directed by Frank Darabont. He's also, I forget his name, which kind of sucks, but the main character from the novella 1922 made into a Netflix movie, which was just fantastic. Thomas Jane knows how to do Stephen King movies. Like, William Sadler style. He's just brilliant. So, I thought, well, I was going to do The Sundog next and finish my 4 Past Midnight review, but I've been putting that off because, I've got a few things to say about The Sundog, but not a lot. But I've got a lot to say about From a Buick 8. So just heads up, there will be some spoilers. Not too many. This is more just what I'm hoping to find with the new movie and how I feel about the book. And heads up, people will be coming into my shop and being like, excuse me mate, can I buy this book? And I'll be like, yep, so I'll have to put yours on pause. I'm not going to pause, I'm just going to deal with the customers. Not to mention my bookshop is attached to this furniture store, so they pop their head in and yarn to me and they'll be like, who are you talking to? And I'll be like, Peter, I'm talking to this guy here on my phone. So, let's get into it. My review on From a Buick 8 by Stephen King. Now, From a Buick 8, when I read this, it's got a creepy car on the front that kind of looked a bit like Christine. Stephen King's book from the 80s, about a car that drives itself around, attaches itself to its owner, becomes this completely possessed ghost car that murders people that mess with the driver. There's a lot more to it than that, of course. I even watched Christine last night. Cracker. Mrs. loved it. But yeah, From a Buick 8, I read it when it was a brand new book, so 2002, I would have been 18, turning 19. I loved it, right? I loved it because I was all about King at the time, but people didn't. People were expecting a bit more. And at the end of this book, Stephen King writes this really small little afterword where he's saying he was thinking about retiring because he's thinking that he's repeating himself. Second book about a car that's, special. And, and that was in 2002. We're up to 2019 now, and he's not slowing down, obviously. We have so much stuff. His next book comes out next year, If It Bleeds. The Institution came out this year, not to mention The Outsider in 2017. So good. So he's not slowing down. But this, to me, From a Buick 8, is this period where he was, in some kind of bizarre, interchangeable thing with his writing. Like, he wrote some great stuff, but he just didn't have the... No, you know what? I'm going to take that back. I was going to say, he didn't have the confidence to just smash out his ultimate style. But some of them books that come out then were the best things that I ever read. So, From a Buick 8. It's about this young fella whose father was killed, and his father's a cop in this small town in western Pennsylvania. And it starts with this kid who's dealing with his father's death, and he starts hanging around the barracks where his father was a cop. His father was a cop there for 20 years, from being a rookie to being a sarge. Actually, I don't think he was ever a sarge, but from being a big part of the team. And he had his boy, Ned? Anyway, so it's about, but the whole thing's told in a narration form by our main protagonist, Sandy. Now, Sandy is Sergeant Sandy, right? It might even be Sandy Dearborn, which I think is cool because there's a little nod towards the Dark Tower there. I haven't read this in a couple of years, but I've read it 4 or 5 times. So I'm not like going to go, right, I've just read this and finished it yesterday to do the review. I can do this review based on what I know about this book. So from a Buick 8, I'm just going to hold it up again because this is the Australian, I know it's backwards, sorry about that. This is the Australian publication of like the first hardcover edition in like the small thing. And I just love this cover. Every one I could find on the internet didn't look like this, but that's the copy I've always read, and I always read it in hardcover. I've never read a paperback of it. And so it's about, it's really about this police station in Western Pennsylvania called Troop D, right? And they come in possession of a car, a Buick. Someone just leaves it at a service station one day, and the service station attendant, this man pulls up, says, fill up my car. This big old Buick pulls up. And then the guy just never comes back. So he's like, fill her up, and he goes to the bathroom. And the guy's waiting for him to come back from the bathroom. He goes to fill it up, but it's already full. There's no putting any more petrol in this. And then he just waits and waits. The guy just never comes back. So in the end, he's just got this big old car sitting there at his fuel pumps. And so he rings up the local police. What else do you do? He's like, well, listen, this guy seems to have vanished in thin air. What do I do? Do I just call a tow truck, or are you guys going to pick it up, or whatever? So some cops come along from this police station, and they have a look at this car, and this car is not from this world. It looks like a Buick. It's got the same everything going on, but you know, some of the portholes are in the wrong spot. They open up the engine. They have a look at the engine block, and some of it's glass, and some of it doesn't have this and doesn't have that, and it's not attached to something. And the steering wheel is just strangely huge, even for a Buick. It's like, how would you even drive this? How would you even get around in this thing? Like, doesn't make sense. And the guy who just left it there was quite strange, dressed very strange, spoke very strange. And he never comes back into the story. And then from there, the police station, Troop D, they gain possession of this car. They don't know what to do with it, but they're very intrigued, especially the young rookie, Curtis. And they put it in a shed out the back. Shed B? Shed B. I'm pretty sure it's Shed B. I'm not going to go flicking through the pages to check, because I've read it enough. I'm pretty sure it's Shed B. And they pick it up. And they keep it there. And it's a secret. They sort of kind of bury the paperwork. So no one was killed. Someone went missing, sure, but who actually was this guy? Like, no one knows. It was just spotted by some gas station attendant. No one really knows. So we'll keep on to this thing. We'll have a look at it. We'll study it. Doesn't take long before strange things start happening. So this car sits in a shed, and then normal police work goes on. And what's cool about this book is it goes into police work. Now, Stephen King spent a lot of time at some barracks, some police station, and took notes for this book. And he thanked I can't remember who he thanked. I'm not going to go into that, right? But he got a lot of information from actual, you know, how to handle the radio, how to do police reports, all that kind of stuff, because he wanted it to be personal. And this book is very personal. And so the thing is, it's about this car in this shed, and it spans over 20 years of them having possession of this car, which they find out is not just from another time or planet or anything, it's from another dimension. And every now and then it does things. Every now and then it'll just explode in this crazy fireworks and strange light, and it will do all this really bizarre out of this world stuff. And every now and then the trunk opens up and something comes out of it from the other side, some kind of being, right? But it's not like big monsters that just start killing everyone. No, it's a bit more subtle than that. It's a little bit more controlled than that. This bat comes out, and these leaves come out, and this weird fish comes out, and as soon as it touches our atmosphere, it dies and melts and does stuff. They managed to hold on to the bat creature long enough for him to do an autopsy. Now, second main character, the rookie, Curtis, he gets really obsessed with this car. It's everything to him. He's got a young wife at home and he's got a young child who turns out to be this child who the book starts with. He's hanging around the barracks. He wants to know what happened to his father. Rah, rah, rah. And I shouldn't have rah-rah-rah that. This is not a rah-rah-rah book. There's plenty to talk about. But so this rookie, Curtis, he becomes obsessed with it. And so he documents everything. He gets microscopes. He starts studying science books. Chemistry, all sorts of stuff, so that he can try to understand this vehicle and the biological life forms that are coming out of it and jumping out of its boot, and where could it come from. And he's still doing his police work because he's a great cop, but his mind is on this car. His mind is on this Buick, which isn't a Buick. And I'll just slip it in here. From a Buick 8, the Bob Dylan song, From a Buick 6. And it's a cool little reference in there where King was like, if this was like an art project, you'd have it sitting there on a stand, and what would you call it? You might call it From a Buick 8. And I thought that was cool. And alright, so I am spoiling the shit out of this, so I'm going to stop right there. But strange things start happening, but we're also following what's going on with this police station and the characters and who works there. And sorry, just had to hit pause there for a minute. The old furniture shop started doing things and they started yarning to me. We're back on board. Anyway, what I was saying was, so all this strange stuff's going on, but we get to the heart of what I love about this story. This whole story takes place in present time, talking about flashbacks to when they first got the car. And it's told from the point of view of this cop, that cop, but mainly from the main sergeant, Sandy, who at the time wasn't a sergeant, but became sergeant, and he'd been there keeping this secret this whole time. So keeping the secret of the Buick, and it's a strange secret to keep. And policemen shouldn't keep secrets, especially from other police forces and state troopers, and every now and then something was going on, but also normal police stuff was going on. But they keep the Buick a secret. And it's a lot to do with secrets and storytelling and camaraderie and just such a character-based story. And all over the internet at the moment is everyone saying, From a Buick 8, going to be made into a movie starring Thomas Jane. Wasn't a fan of the book. Hopefully the movie's better. Hopefully the movie is done by a director that understands the material. The material is a subtle book about something unknown. It is not a horror novel. It is not a horror novel at all. It is something Stephen King felt passionate about, and is a small little tie-in to The Dark Tower. Small tie-in to The Dark Tower, but it's most definitely a tie-in to his series, The Dark Tower. But you could tell he cared about it. I cared about it. There's so much to this. It is deep. It is feeling. He put his heart into it. To me, when I pick up From a Buick 8, I know I'm going to be transported to Western Pennsylvania, and I'm going to be a part of this police station, and I'm going to want to wake up every day and want to know what happens. So people were bored. People were like, that's not what I expected. It wasn't what I expected either. But I had a great time with it, and I had more than a great time. I had this purple and black feeling of every time I pick up this novel, I want to talk about it. So I'm glad I actually gave this some thought, and I'm glad I gave this the time of day, because I was always going to do it From a Buick 8 review, and I think now's the perfect time because the movie's supposed to be coming out. And if given the right director, who takes his time and doesn't try to put any jump scares or silliness into it, if they actually take the time to be subtle and use some good practical effects, that autopsy scene where they actually have an autopsy on an alien that comes out of the boot of the car, in the book, that made me sick. It made me jump. It made me goosebumps come out of my arms because I was following it the way Stephen King wanted me to follow that story. So, the right director and the right director of photography may be able to just open your eyes to what a great novel From a Buick 8 is. And, I've watched other reviewers on YouTube. They actually laugh. They laugh at From a Buick 8 as that, what was Stephen King thinking? Well, I've just told you. I didn't tell you what he was thinking, but I've just told you the good points and why it's worth reading. It's definitely worth reading. It's worth seeing the movie when it comes out. And once you've seen the movie, whether you like it or not, read the book. But just take your time. It's not a big book. It's only small. And it's a great time. And it transports you to somewhere else. And you meet these people. And the ending is really cool. The ending is just like, I didn't even think that was going to happen. Oh shit, of course. They've been building up to this the whole time. You should have known better. Fantastic. Right, so I'm just going to leave on this note. I'm going to say that I can't wait for the movie, and they better get the right goddamn director. Pardon my French. And go out and read from a Buick 8. Published in 2002 by Stephen King. The movie's coming out in 2020. I don't know if Netflix are doing it or if, one of the other ones are doing it. But it's definitely going to be worth a look, especially if Thomas Jane is playing, and it doesn't say who he's playing, but I'd say he's probably playing Sergeant Sandy, the protagonist telling the story, and it should be. It should be. So I'm going to leave it at that. So subscribe to my channel, Liam's Library. If you want me to review something, I know I haven't put anything up in a couple of weeks, I'm sorry. My daughter has been quite ill, so I can only put things up when I can at the moment. Jalen, if you're watching this one, I love you, my mate, and I'll be speaking to you soon. And, when you finish the Langoliers, read from a Buick 8 and we'll talk about it, because I love you. You're my boy, my big head, my big face. But yeah, subscribe, hit the bell, leave comments. If you want me to review something, I'll review it. Take care of one another and read some good books. Whoop, whoop.